figures are great! Welcome to the newest edition of TNInews with your host, JC. Hey, all you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here, and welcome to a Monday edition of TNInews Live. And we've got a lot to cover because I kind of want to recap all the highlights from New York Comic Con this past weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed the coverage. I was able to stream most of the main panels, toy-related panels. So hopefully you guys were able to catch that. But we are going to recap some of that stuff here today in case you haven't seen it. So we've got a lot to cover today. So let's do a quick roll call, just see who's in the house. And I know, I scheduled this late. Originally, I was supposed to have some people come do some work here, and then they gave me this broad window, and then at the last minute, they said they weren't coming today. They'd be here tomorrow. So I was a little up in the air on whether I was going to be able to do a live stream today or not. But I did, and here we are. So I do see Mr. Allmine is in the house. Welcome back. Thank you. Welcome back, and thanks for all the great New York Comic Con coverage. You are very welcome. Jeremy is in the house. Comic Con was pretty good. It was busy. I was exhausted when I got home Saturday night, and I was pretty exhausted after 3 days of running around. But yes, it was a pretty decent show. My first Comic Con since before COVID. So, and I got to tell you, I think it's like they expanded, like, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Javits Center in New York City. It's where they usually would hold Toy Fair as well as New York Comic Con. And, I've been covering both of those shows for years, but this was the first time I've ever been over in, I think it was like the South Tower or something, I think is what they called it. But they had expanded, like the areas that they were using for the Javits Center. So that was kind of interesting. Internet sucked on the convention floor. Up where the panels were, it was decent, which is why I was able to stream those panels, fortunately. But down in the actual convention floor, which was basically down on the ground floor, the internet was horrible. So I wasn't able to stream much from the convention floor. Eric is in the house. What is up? Collectible Fun. What is up? Charlie Gnarly's in the house. You are welcome. Let's see. Some cool stuff revealed. Yeah, some interesting and cool stuff. Leo, what's up? 777. Hey, what's up, peeps? John Brooks from Ireland. Good to see you, my friend. Eric is in the house. Appreciate the panel streams. Yeah, like the first day when I was down on the convention floor and I was having such difficulty with the Wi-Fi, like I couldn't even like get pictures out. I had to go like out towards the front of the convention hall to even get enough of a signal to get pictures out. So I was like, oh man, if this is if this is the internet, I'm not gonna be able to stream any panels. But then the next day when the first panels happened and I was upstairs, I was like, oh, much better. So. All right, so let us. Well, you know what? First thing I wanted to share. So, as I've told you guys before, I'm a pretty big Star Trek fan, and we're going to get into Nacelle Company and their Star Trek figures here in just a bit. But before we did that, I wanted to share. So, the folks at Fanhome are doing these new miniature Star Trek ships, kind of in keeping with Eagle Moss. Though I never bought any of the Eagle Moss stuff, but this was essentially their show exclusive. This is the first of their ships in the line that they're doing. I like the ships. I will tell you their display bases. I'm not could be a little bit better, but the ships themselves are pretty nice and detailed. The saucer section feels like it's made with metal. I don't know if I don't think the whole thing, like the nacelles back here, feel like are plastic. maybe the main body of the ship, but the saucer is definitely a metal die-cast type material. So pretty nicely detailed. So this is the USS Titan-A, featured in season 3 of the Picard series, which this ship at the very end of the season gets rechristened the Enterprise F or G, I mean. So, and funny thing is, they are doing an Enterprise G, but it is actually bigger than this ship, even though it's the same ship. Which I asked them, I was like, "Well, why isn't the Enterprise G the same size as the Titan?" And they were like, they randomly do ships that are a little bit bigger than others. Their ships really aren't meant to be in scale with one another. So there you go. But again, if you're into this type of thing, like I said, I've never had any of the Eagle Moss ones. I know a lot of people compare that. This is actually Mattel did a few Star Trek ships back in the day. So this is the Enterprise, the movie Enterprise, the original movie Enterprise that Mattel did. So just to kind of give you some scale there. So kind of cool, kind of cool. This costs a little over $45, not quite $50. No electronics or anything. You do have the clear translucent plastic, so the kind of the light piping, so the light will kind of light up the nacelles, but there's no actual electronics or anything. So I thought it was cool. Like I said, this was their kind of con exclusive first ship that in the line that they're doing, and they are starting off at least doing mostly newer ships from the newer shows, but they probably will go back and do some more classic stuff at some point. I think because essentially this is kind of almost a continuation of the Eagle Moss stuff, that they're kind of, instead of going back and redoing the stuff that Eagle Moss did, that they're starting with newer ships. So, and like I said, the only thing I don't really like is their display bases, and mainly it's just because this piece doesn't stand very well. It has a tendency to kind of pop out. So, and then as best I mean, you can see it's like little clips, so you can do it multiple ways. You can like slide it into the nacelles like that. I've also tried it where you could have it on the saucer section, but mainly the thing is it doesn't grip in there. So like if you just set it on your shelf, it's fine. But if you pick it up and start moving it around with the display base, it is definitely these have a tendency to the ship has a tendency to kind of just slide out and fall. So just something to be wary of. And I don't know if this is the same design, if this display base is the same design as what Eagle Moss did or what, but that's my only minor complaint. But again, kind of cool as a Star Trek fan to see these. And then, like I say, Nacelle Company, they showed us their first wave of Star Trek figures, 7-inch figures that they are doing. So let us here. I'm going to flip us over so make sure I have the right one.
It's 12 months. My gut is.
So this is from the panel.
And the Picard figures.
Picard series.
Picard series.
We don't have the rights to Picard, so unfortunately we can't do C.
So just to recap, so this is the first wave of figures that they announced.
That's a joke. We're not doing any party packs. But yeah, Wayoon is quite popular. So yeah, so there'll be waves going forward, and the goal is to do at least.
So this is the first wave of figures that they're doing. Captain Jericho, who, for those not familiar, was a captain in 2 episodes of the Next Generation. He took command of the Enterprise for 2 episodes. Peter Preston, who appeared in Star Trek 2 for like 5 minutes. The Valkyries, the female Klingon that was featured in Star Trek 3 for a few minutes. Captain Garrett, captain of the Enterprise C, she was featured in an episode of The Next Generation. Tuvox, which was Neelix and Tuvix, I think, which was Neelix and Tuvok got combined in an Enterprise accident, or not Enterprise, but transporter accident. Captain Archer from Enterprise in his Mirror Universe episode. Wei-Yun, who, was a decent, was featured in quite a few episodes of Deep Space Nine. And then finally, member of the Horta and the Dominion, part of the Dominion War for him. And then finally, Captain Sulu, from the Excelsior. So that's the main, character, though, Sulu appeared in most of the movies. It's the movie outfit, but he's captain as opposed to lieutenant commander or commander. I forget what his final rank was before he left the Enterprise. But the thing here, the takeaway here is, and these figures, admittedly, I think look pretty good. We can go over here and give you a closer look at the figures that they had on display. As soon as I find Nacelle, NNN. Actually, the Nacelle Company is what I have on. I think. No, not sure whether or not. Oh, duh, there it is. Okay, so a few other figures they had on display for their other lines. The Expanse. Never watched this show, so I know next to nothing about it. So here's the Captain Garrett figure. That's the Jellicoe figure. Ronnie Cox played him, which you might know from like Beverly Hills Cop or RoboCop or Total Recall. So he's a pretty well known actor. And then Peter Preston, who actually was related to Scotty, though those parts of the scenes that revealed that in the original Star Trek 2 theatrical release were cut, so we never really knew who this guy was other than just a cadet. But again, and he was killed. So those, the thing is that Brian, who basically, started the Nacelle Company, these are characters that he wants to see made. And in his panel, we'll go back to that because that's
100 figures.
So it'll be wave after wave, wave after. I already made that joke. Now let's get down to brass tacks of like.
These are the places you can find the figures: Walmart, FYE, if you can still find one of those. Hot Topic, Spencer, same thing if you can still find it. Target, Diamond, and Big Bad Toy Store, plus comic and specialty shops, I guess. But the license they can only do like the original Star Trek, the original series, the original movies, and Star Trek shows from the 90s. They can't do the Chris Pine universe. They can't do any of the newer shows. So like Star Trek Nemesis is the last movie they can do figures from. They can't do anything from the newer like Picard series, even though those are classic characters. They can only do characters, again, essentially up to Star Trek Nemesis. And no vehicles. They don't have any plans on doing vehicles at this time. And they didn't, play sets, again, maybe down the road, but not really.
People know what the Genesis baby is. I know you do.
I want to get to the part here.
So I thought that could be a great Build-A-Figure. I'm kidding.
Your input and what you would like to see in the future. Now.
One thing, Bevan, before we move on. So the table in the far back there, you can see the...
like a full character. There was like I don't, unless we make it, I don't think I'll ever buy another Kirk or another Picard. I don't need more.
So this is
The
where
last company to
he's
do it, I
talking
didn't buy
about
anything they
basically
made,
not wanting to
and
do
this is the
mainline
thing that
characters.
changed
Like
the
he
entire course
thinks
of my
enough
life. So
companies
what does that tell you?
have done
So my
mainline
reaction to
characters,
that
and
logic
so his
is
plan
fill the holes. Like I said, the original
is, as he
idea that
says,
I
fill the
had.
holes with these obscure characters, or taking mainline characters and giving them like obscure outfits or whatever that they've worn over the years, and an episode here or whatever. And so, but basically, what he's suggesting is he's not going to do any of the mainline characters in their mainline outfits because they've been done before. Now, I'm all for doing obscure characters. I think that's great, but I feel like you can't just assume that people have older Star Trek figures, or that just because they might have smaller Playmates 5-inch figures, that they're not going to want those main crew members in the scale of these figures, which are going to be about 7 inches. They're listed as 112, which generally you think of as 6-inch, but then they clarified and said that these were really going to be closer to 7-inch figures. Now, bigger characters would be bigger than, so on, but it looks like these are going to be basically 7-inch figures, which is other companies have done. Diamond Select Toys and Art Asylum, which, when you're talking about that scale, I think is your most notable company, not Playmates. Playmates did the 5-inch stuff, but Art Asylum and Diamond Select Toys. It started with Art Asylum, then Diamond Select Toys bought Art Asylum and continued on with the line, but they did a lot of Star Trek figures in that scale. McFarlane did 2 figures. He did Picard and he did Kirk. McFarlane had little to no success with those figures, so they dumped the license. Super 7 tried to do next generation figures, but that didn't seem to go very well either. But in large part, that's probably because of price. 50, nobody's going to pay 50 to $60 for a Star Trek figure. Brian did say in this video, or in this panel, that he didn't want the price to be any higher than $30, but he was hoping to even have the price lower, which I do think is a good thing. But again, I think it's a huge mistake not to mix in mainline characters with these more obscure characters. And it can be a difficult thing because not only when you start talking about mainline characters, so, if you're going to do the original series crew, well, where do you start? Do you start with the original series and the outfits that they wore in that? Do you jump to the Star Trek motion picture, or do you go to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and the rest of the movies they were in? With they wore the same outfits through Star Trek through 6. So do you which even if you're going to do mainline characters, then you've got to decide, okay, which outfits are we going to start with? Same thing with Next Generation. They wore multiple different kinds of outfits throughout the seasons of the series. Then they jumped to the blue movie outfits. So where do you start? Um, if you're gonna do the mainline characters. Now, for my personal preference, the Star Trek II outfits for the original series are the best outfits. And then for the Next Generation timeline, either go with the later seasons of the TV series or the movie outfits. But that would be my recommendation. But again, I do think you have to give us regular characters, or mainline characters, and do a mix of obscure characters. I don't even mind if you do the majority are obscure characters, at least starting off. But I think you've got to mix in mainline characters. So I left this panel. I liked the figures that I saw as far as how they looked, but I got left feeling like this line is not going to have much of a future. He said in the panel that he could afford to, if like the first wave doesn't do very well, he could probably eke out a second wave without making money on it. But if like the first 2 waves don't sell well at all, then that's probably it. So I'm here thinking, these figures without any mainline characters is not going to be terribly successful, and therefore, why am I even going to, jump into this line if it doesn't have much life to it? So, we'll have to see, and whether these match up with, if these match up with scale with, like, say, the Art Asylum Diamond Select toy figures, then I could definitely see myself picking up a few of these. I might get Preston to go along with my Star Trek 2 figures. I might get Captain Sulu. I could see myself maybe getting one or two. But overall, I just think it is a huge mistake for him not to do any mainline character. So I have concerns that this line is going to have much longevity to it. And Eric, as I said, figures look like they're going to be about 7-inch. So 1/12 scale is what they list them as, but then when he got down to it, he basically said 7-inch. So I think they're going to be more in keeping with, Super 7, McFarlane's were 7-inch as well, or again, Art Asylum / Diamond Select toys. Art Asylum did, they did Enterprise figures. They did Star Trek, the original series, both the original series outfits and the Wrath of Khan outfits. They did the Next Generation in their original series outfits, and they did the movie outfits. So Diamond Select toys, Art Asylum / Diamond Select toys, besides Playmates, probably had the most success with Star Trek figures than anybody else. But that was also kind of in Star Trek's heyday, when Star Trek was at its most popular. Both Playmates and Art Asylum, I feel like, were doing figures for Star Trek in its prime, and I wouldn't say Star Trek is in its prime right now. So that'll probably be another factor. Zim, at Walmart, there was a section devoted to nacelle sectors, even the silver one. But they've been, Nacelle has been definitely trying to expand into Walmart. So I think all of their main lines, RoboForce, Biker Mice from Mars, Sectors, you can find some of those figures in some Walmarts. Like, I haven't seen any in my local Walmart, but that's not terribly surprising. But and of course, places like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, they carry that stuff as well. But Brian, Moo Mesa, that was, both of those were, I think those are their two most recent lines that they had announced before Star Trek. All right, so that's my thoughts on Star Trek. We'll have to see how it goes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these really obscure characters. I mean, granted, they haven't been done before in action figure form, so maybe that will appeal to more people than I think so. But I've seen a lot of people voice similar concerns about not having any mainline characters in the line, in their mainline outfits. So. Jeremy, wish Nacelle showed off some. Well, to be fair, Nacelle really didn't have a booth. So on Saturday, both McFarlane and Nacelle had these panels in this kind of big showroom area that isn't generally used for panels like this. All these windows and stuff. And they had a table set up in the back of the room. McFarlane on this side and Nacelle on this side, and they just had a few product out to show. But neither McFarlane nor Nacelle really had like an actual booth at New York Comic Con this year. All right, so let's what else we have? Let's go to GI.Joe, because I wanted to hit on this as well. I definitely wanted to hit on this as well. So we're going to talk about the figures they showed off, but I wanted to touch upon this little nugget that they dropped in the Hasbro panel.
Which will be great, because I haven't really been on this product development line for a year. So we are going to wing this, and if you have questions, I will get you answers later. Sound great? Perfect. I love this for all of us. All right, first slide. Nobody's going to love this, and I don't love getting to say it, but Due to unexpected shifts in production, many of our 2025 G.I. Joe product shipments will be delayed. We're working very hard to minimize the delay and we'll keep you updated, and we appreciate the support of the G.I. Joe fan community. So you probably have a lot of questions about this, and I can't answer any of them. So stay tuned for more kind of updates as we have more information about this. We'll make sure that you are updated as quickly as possible and that we have those accurate consumer promise dates for you. So we promise to be as transparent as we possibly can about how this will affect you. Does that sound fair to everybody given the circumstances? Excellent, thank you.
All right, first I just want to confirm you guys were able to hear that okay? If not, then I'll repeat what you said, but hopefully you were able to hear what she just said and can read there the slide about the delay. So first of all, I feel like dropping this news without giving us any context was kind of weird. Why wouldn't you wait until you could actually give us more details on what's causing the delay before you put this out there? Because now you've got all these people saying the line is coming to an end and you know, this isn't good and all of that. So I felt like they should have had a little more information to give us on this before making this announcement. I tried to press them a little bit. You know, they had a media event the next morning, and I tried to press them a little bit to see if I could get any more information. Unfortunately, they basically were not willing to say anything more about what kind of delay, how long of a delay, why the delay. And one thing that's very odd about this is, like, if it was like shipping issues or anything like that, why is it only seemingly affecting G.I. Joe and not any of the other Hasbro brands? So as far as I know of, this delay is only affecting G.I. Joe, which to me is the most strange thing about it. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, the line's coming to an end. I don't think that's the case. But like I say, I feel like they should have had more information prepared about this delay. And what exactly that's going to mean for, you know, collectors, because I know, you know, they showed off a wave of figures that had already been up for pre-order, and then they showed the next wave that's going up for pre-order tomorrow, which we'll get into here in just a minute. But beyond that, basically, they weren't willing to, you know, say are we going to see anything else released in 2025? I pressed that as much as I could, and they just would not answer it. So, again, I really, without any more context to this, it is really unclear what this is going to mean for, you know, how much product for G.I. Joe we are going to see next year get actually released. I did confirm the Dragonfly is still, you know, will still be shipping out to folks by the end of this year. I did confirm that the Rattler should still be on schedule for next year. I confirmed that Nemesis Enforcer that they teased, you know, several months ago with showing us the figure in the box is still coming. They would not tell me exactly when it would be made available for pre-order, but I suspect good possibility, and this is my speculation, we might see it during the 10/27 event next weekend. But Nemesis Enforcer is still coming. But beyond that, they really just were not willing to comment on this whole delay thing. So, John said, I think Hasbro's moving from Vietnam due to political issues. G.I. Joe was the easiest to move to the back of the production line. They can't with the Disney licenses. Yeah, maybe, but I feel like if they were just moving all their stuff from factories, there would be delays with all of their lines to some extent. So maybe, but and also if it's just simply, yeah, we're changing factories, why wouldn't you say that? Why wouldn't you don't even have to go into specifics. You could just say, yeah, we're changing factories, and that's causing some delay. So I don't know. Certainly it's possible that's the reason, but again, it's just very odd to me. 777 says, when they moved Power Rangers from China to Vietnam, it killed the quality. Yeah, and caused a lot of delays but to me, Power Rangers was it became pretty clear, at least a year, maybe even 2 years ago, that Hasbro had, I guess, not had the success that they were hoping with Power Rangers, and were kind of like, yeah, we're done with this. So when they kind of finally announced that they were licensing it out to other companies like Playmates and such, it wasn't a huge surprise to me. But GI Joe, that A, GI Joe is their baby, and B, I mean, definitely I could see the Disney lines having priority over GI Joe, but I don't know. But anyway, let's move on to so render reveals. We got, actually, I'm going to flip over because we got better quality. So render reveals, and when these go up for pre-order, no idea. But their first mass device item that they had they teased the mass device at San Diego Comic-Con. So this first one was another release of Snake Eyes based on the cartoon, with translucent radioactive hands. That's kind of the unique thing about the Snake Eyes. Has a cartoon like rifle, has the bear trap, has the crystals, the radioactive crystals that Snake Eyes gets in the cartoon, for the mass device. So, and then this big giant polar bear that ends up attacking Snake Eyes. And the old guy who had Timber actually was the one that saved Snake Eyes from the big giant polar bear. So that's when Timber and Snake Eyes first met. So the polar bear is kind of the big thing for this set. I got to see more, to be honest, because I don't really need another Snake Eyes, and the bear looks cool, but I don't really need a big giant bear that only appeared for 5 seconds in one cartoon episode. That's just me. Maybe you're a big polar bear fan. So, but to me, that's not as appealing. So I got to see what this mass device is going to look like, get a better idea before I decide whether I'm going to collect these figures or not. So, because honestly, from what I'm seeing here, the only thing I'd be interested in are the actual mass device crystals. The crystal, this canister here is what would actually go on the mass device. So this one little item is really the only thing in this set that I would find interesting. So, because again, I don't really need another Snake Eyes. The bear doesn't do much for me. And this is going to be a deluxe set with this big giant bear, so it's going to have a hefty price tag. So that one I wasn't as impressed with as they seem to think we should have been impressed with. And again, maybe if you guys think differently, I don't know, but I got to see more about what the size of the actual mass device and what it's going to be before I make any decisions. We got a diorama type set. This is kind of a recreation of an original GI Joe set. Not exactly, I don't think, but essentially a little Cobra bunker with guns and stuff, and you get this repaint of a figure. Again, I can't say this is something for me personally that, just due to size, space constraints, I may end up passing on this one. So, not that it's not cool, I'm just not sure if I really have the place for it, and it's just not something that like stands out to me. So another look at it, better look at the figure. Another anniversary figure, which again, I've not been collecting these generic anniversary figures. They look good, for generic type figures, but I have not bought any of the 60th anniversary figures. Now, this one I will definitely get. Footloose. This is one, classic Joe character, so this is one I will definitely get. And that was it for your digital render. So, and then so the figures going up for pre-order to, is it tomorrow? No, yes, tomorrow. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So these are the figures. This was at the media event that Hasbro held Saturday morning. So kind of in-hand images. These were not on display at actual New York Comic Con. So only members of the press got this look at the figures. But Dr. Mindbender is going up for pre-order. It will be on a retro card back if you missed out on the Pulse exclusive version. I don't know if they fixed the bleeding. The cape on the Pulse exclusive had a tendency to kind of bleed and leave black marks on Mindbender, so I don't know if that's something that will be corrected. I will show you the back of the cape here in a minute. It does have a Cobra symbol. Viper, the Cobra Viper with the sleeve without the sleeves, so more reminiscent. This is a figure that was already on pre-order. There's a better look at the Viper. I probably will get a Viper. Retro card back rock and roll. I will say I think this rock and roll looks better than the regular version, so I probably will get this one. Looks more in keeping with the original rock and roll. You don't have the big tattoos on the arm. Xandar looks really good. Definitely be getting that one. Not low light, dial tone. A look at dial tone here, and Leatherneck. So Leatherneck, dial tone, this Viper, all have already been, and Xandar have already been up for pre-order. Leatherneck too, I think. And then rock and roll. There's the back of dial tone. This will open up and have a little keyboard. Back of Xandar. Back of Leatherneck. Back of rock and roll. Side of Xandar. Xandar looks really good. That's probably the best looking one here, in my opinion. Close-up shot of dial tone. So again, this one went up. This was already up for pre-order, but it also went up during Walmart Collector Con. And these are the official images for for the pre-orders tomorrow. So there's the back of Mindbender's cape. That's a little bit different than the exclusive version. Doesn't have that big Cobra symbol on it. Everything else, I think, is pretty much the same. Rock and Roll is going up for pre-order tomorrow. Retro card back Rock and Roll. Same thing with the Cobra Viper. So those are your pre-orders for tomorrow, which are all essentially reissues of some type, So nothing really new in tomorrow's pre-orders. Again, improved version of Rock and Roll. Probably the Cobra Viper too. I like the without the sleeves better. Dr. Mindbender, I'm fine with the version I already have, so I don't know if I'll get Dr. Mindbender, but I will probably get the other two. Again, tomorrow pre-orders at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, Amazon should have them as well. So that was it for GI.Joe at New York Comic Con. And remember, I tried to warn you guys last week that, I wasn't expecting a ton of reveals for these brands because I knew the HasLab was going to take a good part of that panel. The panel was only an hour long, and you figured that the HasLab announcement for the Ecto-1 was going to take up 15 to 20 minutes of an hour panel. And so then trying to squeeze all the other brands into the remaining time, you just knew there wasn't going to be a ton of stuff to reveal. So I was not expecting it. Also, this coming weekend, we not only have 10/27, where we'll get probably one or two figures for each brand again revealed. But then we also, the MCM convention is this weekend, the overseas convention, and I believe there's going to be some Hasbro presence at that as well. So we probably will get a couple additional reviews this coming weekend from that event. So, again, we do have a few reveals to come for the various brands. Now, let us continue on. Let's stick with Hasbro and let's jump over to the HasLab. So as suspected, Ecto-1 was the reveal. So I got to tell you, I was impressed. I'm not a big Ghostbuster fan. Sorry. And a nice look at the new HasLab. I threw this video together yesterday. If you haven't checked it out, you should. But I got some footage, again, in hand. At the press event. So I just want to give you a look at all the sirens and everything. It does have the sound of the siren as well. If you get the deluxe version, you can have it displayed either as the Ecto-1 from the first movie or the Ecto-1 from the second movie. The decals are reusable, so if you have it displayed one way, you are supposed to be able to remove those decals and then reuse them again later if you want to. So see how well they actually work. But again, the decals are supposed to be reusable. So it's not like you apply them once and you're stuck with it, according to what Hasbro said. The other thing I was really that really has me kind of tempted to almost buy this, even though I'm not really that big into Ghostbusters, is the fact that they told me that they do plan on including a USB port in the bottom of it so that you can plug it in and keep the lights on all the time on your shelf. It does run on batteries. I believe they said AAA batteries, but you also will have the ability to essentially plug it in so you don't have to run it on the batteries and the batteries go dead. So if that is the case, then I think this would be a really cool display piece where you just keep it lit all the time. And like I say, even though I personally am not into Ghostbusters, I could be tempted to get this just because I think it would be a cool display piece on the shelf. My only problem is my space on shelves are getting so limited. We're constantly getting hit with these big giant items, and I don't know if I can allocate the space for it, since it is not something that I collect in any real way. But again, even not being a huge Ghostbuster fan, this is tempting to me. So if you are into Ghostbusters and you've been waiting for an Ecto-1 and stuff, I think this is something you definitely would want to check out. And I think Hasbro's, at least from what I saw Saturday, Hasbro's done a pretty good job. Now, I would definitely recommend, if you're going to get this thing, go with the deluxe version. It's not that much more expensive, and you get all the Ghostbuster figures. You get the Ghostbuster 2 parts for the vehicle. You get the Slimer and the Librarian with either version. But again, you get all the other Ghostbusters to go with it. So, and the extra parts and stuff. I like the first Ghostbuster movie better, but as far as displaying this thing, I actually think the Ghostbuster 2 version is cooler looking with the light up sign and the extra lights and everything. So I feel like if I got this and displayed it, it would be the Ghostbuster 2 version. that I would end up getting. Plus, I don't actually own any Plasma Series Ghostbuster figures, so the ones that are included with this vehicle would essentially be the only Ghostbuster figures that I actually have. I think one of the lights wasn't working. You can see in this video, it looks like one of the green lights there is not working. Also, this was an early prototype, so it will, he was being very he was being very careful when he closed the hood, because it's a prototype, but it should be, much more durable when you get the actual final product. Now, one other thing to note here is the Louis Tully figure is an early bird figure, and I am fearful that we are not going to see this thing fully funded in the 2-week time frame that they've given for that figure to be included. The Tully figure will only be included, according to Hasbro, if this thing reaches its minimum funding goal of 12,000 backers in 2 weeks, which is November 1st. So if it doesn't reach the 12,000 by November 1st, then again, according to Hasbro, Tully will not be, the Louis figure will not be included. Maybe I could see them, since it looks like the figure is pretty far along, I could see them maybe offering it as a side figure that you have to pay more for down the road. But right now, again, at least according to Tully, or according to Hasbro, that figure will only be included if it reaches its minimum goal. And the reason why I'm fearful of that is because the campaign is it's not breaking any records. It is currently, it's not even halfway there yet. It's at 5,521, which, I mean, it's only been, the campaign went live on Friday afternoon. And so it is almost to the halfway point. But my experience with these is, you get that big burst at the beginning when the campaign launches. And with the really popular ones, they usually end up getting fully funded in like the first couple of days. And then it really starts to slow down until, you get to the very end. So you've got 42 days total. Again, you've got to fund it in 2 weeks if you want the Louis figure, but you still have 42 days. So definitely plenty of time to reach 12,000 backers when we're sitting at 5,521 just after, 4 days. But because I imagine that counter is going to start going down, start slowing down much more, it makes me fearful. I won't even say 100% that I feel like it'll get to 12,000 by the 42 days, but I think that is much more likely. But I right now, based on what I'm seeing here, I don't feel like it's going to get to the 12,000 by November 1st. So, and then how that will affect people's mindset on this, if it's not going to include the Louis figure, that's much more hard to say. So I am a little concerned. I would have liked to have seen this at least reached halfway by now. And then as it slows down, it would only need, the 6,000 more to go. But I guess, we'll just have to wait and see. But I do think it is a very cool vehicle. I was very impressed. Again, not even being a Ghostbuster fan, I'm contemplating getting it. Yes, it's $400 for the deluxe version, but again, you get 5 figures, or 4.5 if you don't want to count Slimer as a full figure. The Slimer is pretty big. They made Slimer, usually Slimer ends up getting shrunk down, but they made him a decent size. You get the translucent librarian. You get both sets of, you get the slime packs, and you get the proton packs. You get the parts for, both versions of the vehicle. So like I say, if you are going to get this, my recommendation, spend a little bit extra money and get all the additional things. Don't just, spend the $325. Even if you really just prefer the classic version, I think it's probably worth just spending the little bit extra money for all the additional stuff. That's my opinion anyway. And like I say, you got 42 days left to go on this one. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that HasLab in the coming days. So So before I move on to the next thing, I just want to see what you guys are saying. We got a lot to cover today, so we're probably going to go past an hour today. Judge Dredd says the polar bear is too small. Should come up with a snake eye shoulder. Yeah, you're probably right, but like I said, the polar bear appeared for like 2 minutes in the cartoon. I don't know. I would rather they just done snake eyes with the canisters and sold it as a regular figure than throwing in the big giant polar bear. But I'm sure they wanted them to all be in the same price range. So as we start getting into bigger parts for the actual mass device, that's probably why they did that. I'm just guessing. John says, looking at all of Hasbro's plan for Joe, I don't feel like the line is dying, but something is going on behind the scenes, and Joe is low man on the totem pole. That I would have shared. I would share that sentiment with you there. GI.Joe always seems to be like low man on the totem pole. I think Power Rangers was lower, but Power Rangers, as far as Hasbro goes, is pretty much done. So now GI.Joe is kind of back to being the low man on the totem pole. How was it? It was older looking. I mean, Hasbro did an Afterlife Ecto-1. Not as cool as this. Doesn't have the electronics and everything, but had a few. Again, like I'm not a big enough Ghostbuster expert that like I've studied every detail of the Ecto-1, so I couldn't even tell you like are these 100% accurate representations of the. I'm sure there's some Ghostbuster fans out there that are like looking at every little detail to see if it matches up with the movie, and I could not tell you if that is the case. But again, just what I saw, I thought it was cool looking, to the point where I'm actually, can I find a place to put this? Right, well, not asking for a crowd fund, but could you imagine a HasLab Batmobile? I have, or you know what? Just because you mentioned that, Brian, uh, I'll share this with you. So going back to a home fan, who is doing those Star Trek. I'm sorry, not home fan, Fanhome. Fanhome is the name of the company. But Star Trek's not the only thing that they do. So this Batmobile from the 66 series. So these are like kind of like model kits. You actually have to put these together. They're snap like model kits. You don't use glue or anything. But these things, and they didn't have pricing information, so I don't know how much this is going to cost, but I suspect it's not going to be cheap. But this is kind of like Hot Toys quality. I won't say it's 1/6 scale, but it's definitely bigger than I want to say it's bigger than a 1/12 scale. But the detail on this Batmobile was incredible to me. So if you're looking, I mean, obviously, again, this is the 66 Batmobile, but if you're looking for something high end, and they have a Millennium Falcon 2, same thing where it's like a model kit, and they have like a big an Iron Man figure, again bigger than 12-inch. I forget, I'm not sure what the scale was, but it was bigger than 12-inch. But an Iron Man from the Iron Man movie, and then an Iron Spider-Man figure. And again, they're like model kits that you actually put together. So all right, let's while we're talking Batmobiles, let's jump over to
a lot of vehicles this year, so the Batmobile from Batman and Robin will be coming this fall, and Todd's got it in his hand right now.
So this was on display at the McFarlane panel. It is a Batman.
We've released a lot of vehicles this year, so the Batmobile from Batman and Robin will be coming this fall, and Todd's got it in his hand right now.
So here we go. Yeah, that line was went really well for us. We're going to now have it that will hold the figure, right? You've got like a sticker in there, but AJ pushed it. But again, we always have the buttons you can push. And so if you push
the buttons on the back here, you push it for the lights to come on.
Push the button on. It's not, I don't know if it's dark enough, but you get the lights on the front, you get the lights on the hood, you get the red on the inside. But if you push the button a second time, it turns it off. It turns it off, but then you hit it again, and it blinks, and it sounds like it's going. So you can either give the illusion that it's in motion because it's blinking and making sounds, or you can click it off and just go, no, I just want it to be stationary. I don't want any sound. I just want it to be lit.
And here's the actual lights working and the sound. So another Batmobile announced, on top of the Batman Beyond one that was offered during the which I got the Amazon version of that. I didn't feel like I needed the figure, so I went on and just got the Amazon Batman Beyond Batmobile that went up last week, not the Walmart one with the figure. But then we have this Batman Robin one coming. No word. Some of you have been asking whether they were going to reissue the Batman and Robin figures with the Mr. Freeze Build-A-Figure. No word on that. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Honestly, though, you're going to need the Clooney Batman from the box set, which has the soft goods cape, because a figure is not going to be included with the Batmobile. At least that's what they said at the panel. So if you have the one from the box set, that's going to be the one that you're going to want for that vehicle, not the single release that has, I believe, a plastic cape. So, but again, and no word yet on when exactly that's going to go up for pre-order or what the cost of that one's going to be. And I don't know, they didn't mention it at the panel, but they've been doing like 2 versions. So it would be kind of weird that they didn't include a figure. Again, they said no figure included, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do actually do a version with the figure, with maybe a reissue of the Clooney Batman. But we'll have to wait and see. And whether these are store exclusives, like many of the Batmobiles are, I don't know. But again, those details will probably be coming soon. And let's stick with McFarlane. Actually, go back to the panel.
Released a lot of platinum editions, their chases, their exclusives.
So this is from the panel. I'm going to play you here. So they're kind of changing up their platinum edition. So I'm going to just let them explain it to you.
We added all the webbing on it to give them because here's the thing, Spider-Man we found out on one of our first ones on the page. So.
We're going to take a beat. AJ's going to explain. We release a lot of platinum editions. They're chases, they're exclusives, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to make the shift next year. We're going to break it out a little bit further. AJ's going to walk us through that.
Yeah, so like Brian was saying, in spring 2025, we're going to add some clarity to the platinum edition stickers using some new colors. So if it's a silver platinum edition sticker, it's a 1-to-1 chase figure. So a redecoed version of the same character. The red stickers are going to be entirely new characters, so not a 1-to-1 deco variant, and these are largely going to be in-store chase figures, so that's the distinction when you see a silver sticker or if you see a red sticker.
Yeah. So what we found, and it's interesting because I've been here now for 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and getting a lot of people come and saying a lot of nice stuff about what we're doing on the DC Multiverse line. But one of the comments that seems to be sort of repeating itself is us doing these characters that are what we call the deep cut characters, right? I mean, everybody knows that you've got your A-listers and you've got your Bs and your Cs, but sometimes we go down even further than that. But the only way we can kind of get away with it is that we have to sort of do it very limited and figure out ways to make it, because we know there's not going to be a big audience for them because they are basically further down the rank and file. So we have to figure out ways to get there. But if we do it right, then it seems like that small group of people who are fans of those characters are willing to go for us to sort of find, I don't want to call it the cheat, but the way to be able to get those characters to the marketplace. Look, I've said it before, I collected baseball cards and sports cards when I was a kid, and we have these conversations of trying to make the rookie card, in this case, the first figure of these characters for the very first time, right? Like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, we're going to continue to make all those, but they've been made not only by myself, but by other companies for decades. It's kind of exciting to be able to take something and know nobody else has ever done it and then put it out there. And that's the response we're getting from people going, oh man, you finally made this quirky character that nobody cares about, and it seems to be working, right? The retailers are pretty happy with it, and when they're happy, it means that we basically keep putting more of these characters out there for you guys to collect.
There's one more special edition of Platinum Edition. JJ, you want to go through it?
Yeah, so there will be a gold sticker as well. So those are ultra rare versions of figures, and these will include authentic artifacts as an example from the movie. So in this case, Red One, Dwayne Johnson, it will have a piece of his costume from the movie in a small, like a limited amount of figures. So this one won't actually have the gold sticker yet, as it's starting in 2025, but this is just an example of what to look out for. If you see a gold sticker, you know that's something that is ultra rare.
Yeah, and they've done it in sports where they take people's uniforms and things like that, and they cut them up and they put them in, and they've got a limited amount. We're asking sort of the same thing. Is there any way we can get our hands on props or costumes or anything that we could put in there and make it pretty sort of special for those people who might end up getting their hands on it? And luckily, the good people at Warner Brothers Consumer Products have been very helpful, and a lot of other people at some of the other brands are like, yeah, Todd, it sounds good. Whatever you got, bring it to us. We'll let you know one way or the other. So we're going to continue to keep trying and experimenting. You guys out there, let us know whether we're hitting the mark or not, and help guide us.
All right, so let's unpack all of this. So I will be the first to tell you that I feel like a lot of this is just marketing. But now we have the regular release figure, and then we have 3 different versions of Platinum figure. And that's not even setting aside the gold label, which is, obviously a store exclusive. First thing I will say, I understand Todd's point where he's saying some of these really obscure characters, retail is not that interested in wanting to carry them as just regular release figures. So he's trying to find ways to kind of sneak them out. So I get that. the problem I have is, first of all, it's become very confusing. I've lost track of what's platinum and what's regular and all of that. McFarlane does a terrible job of informing us about what platinum figures are coming and where they are coming to. That is the biggest issue I have with the whole platinum edition thing, is their communication about them is horrible. Oftentimes we don't learn about these platinum editions until we start to see them leak out from overseas or what have you. And then we have to kind of piece together, okay, where is this figure going to show up at? Or how are we going to be able to get this figure? So if Todd wants to do all these platinum editions, my first piece of advice would be, you've got to better communicate what platinum figures are coming and then where are they coming to, because he didn't really talk about it here. But some of these platinum editions, even though they're not listed as gold label figures, seem to be exclusive to only one store or another. So, like Walmart's the only place that I've seen getting certain platinum figures, or Target or what have you. So, that to me, I mean, I guess that's what the red sticker is, kind of unique chase character. But, is it a store exclusive, or, is it going to be available everywhere? That's the type of information that Todd and McFarlane Toys needs to get better at, because like I say, it is even for diehards, it's getting really hard to keep track of where these things are, what is coming, what is a chase, what isn't a chase, what's a regular release, and the frustration levels just start to get to the point where it's like, I'm not even going to fool with this anymore. I'm just going to walk away from this line. So, again, I understand Todd's point to say that with some of these characters, retail is not, at least the big box retailers are not that interested in wanting to carry them. Though why you can't just make those available directly online, though I'm sure that's more Todd, because Todd knows that he can sell more figures at a Walmart or Target. So if he can kind of sneak those into Walmart and Target, he's going to sell more of them than if he just releases them as a store exclusive or just as an online exclusive. So, but there's a lot of confusion with these platinum figures. Breaking them up into different colors, I don't think is really going to help very much if you don't give us a heads up of what is a platinum edition figure and when the platinum edition figures are going to be released, what cases are they shipping in, that type of information. Because right now it's basically just people who are out there toy hunting that manage to find these, or people from overseas that get these cases first, where we get any information about this stuff whatsoever. All right, so that's my that's all I have on the platinum thing. So let's move on. So they did this voting thing at the convention where basically people could vote on these. I was hoping this classic Eradicator was the one that was going to win, but Green Lantern Jade is the one that actually ended up winning. So she is going to get a figure. Let's see what else. And I apologize. So if you guys watch my live stream of this entire panel, so I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the way the sun started hitting the room. You can see in the background here, this room was basically all windows, and the sun, you could see this little ray of sunlight. But I'm not the only one that had this problem, because I saw other people who took pictures of slides and they had the same issue where these lines were going across the screen. And so it was really hard to get like clear pictures of these slides. And again, I don't know if that's because of the sunlight or what, but it was really difficult to get pictures of these slides during this panel. And so I'd gotten kind of frustrated as I was trying to get these images and stuff. And then some dude who wasn't paying attention to where he was going was calling out to his buddy in the middle of the panel, like ran into my camera So when he realized what he did, he was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry." And he knocked the mic off my camera, which was just kind of sitting on top of the thing anyway. But he knocked it off onto the floor, and then he went and got it and brought it back to me. But a couple of you had asked, like, did that guy deliberately try and knock your camera? No, he just wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. But I was more frustrated. I wasn't that frustrated about that. I was more frustrated about these stupid lines that kept popping up in all the images. Anyway, these, all these we knew about before the panel. These are new. These were newly announced. So these are coming in the winter. Orion Wildcat, Aqualad, Fleischer Superman, Justice League. These are video game figures. These are based on the Task Force video game from back in the day. So Aquaman, Superman with the mullet, Flash, and Batman. And there's going to be a Build-A-Figure of Darkseid. So again, these are technically video game type figures. We already talked about the Batmobile. Dawn of Justice figures, which went up for pre-order last week. Superman False God was unannounced, but I've seen people finding that one already. So that's another Platinum Edition figure. But these were the Walmart, the Darkseid with Throne, so Walmart Collector Con, the Superman Doomsday 2-pack. So again, those all went up for pre-order last week. Christopher Reeve Superman went up for pre-order last week. Seeing that figure in person, I will tell you, is actually pretty cool. Look better in person to me than the images. Let me just go over to my... Here we go. So let me pop over here. So this was I told you about the listing for this a while back. The Monsterverse Kong versus Batman 2-pack. That's based on the comic book series. So we got our first look at this. The 2-pack comes with King Kong here with this smaller Batman figure. This one here, I think, is just for size comparison. Does not have an ab crunch on the Kong figure, but detail looks pretty good. No date given on when that's going to go up for pre-order, though. And then here's a look at the Christopher Reeve Superman. Had him in a flying pose, and then they also had him standing next to the Batmobile. But overall, with the wire cape and everything, that figure actually looked better to me than I initially thought. This Joker set, they announced this at San Diego Comic-Con, so really no details. A new vinyl line called Todd's Mods they announced. And that was the King Kong that we just talked about. Here's another wave of figures. Well, actually, these went up. These already went up for pre-order. Though the Geoforce is a new one. These went up last week. These other ones, but this Geoforce Target one is new. I don't even know who Geoforce is, so that's. And then we have Captain Cold, Power Girl, and Hal Jordan Green Lantern, or Guy Gardner Green Lantern. So those were announced. Thomas Wayne, Batman again, and Zoom. That's a multi-pack. Those are, I believe, are in stores. I think this wave had already been announced. Some new cows, if you've been collecting those. These have already been solicited. Next wave of DC superpowers with Lobo, Robin, the Atom, Garrick Flash, Batman without his mask, and Mullet Superman in the black costume. So that's your next wave of DC superpower figures. Going back real quick, this was announced a year ago, but then got held back because of the Bruce Wayne, but it is still coming. This wave of Batman figures will be a Target exclusive. Some more statues. Sports figures, nothing new. These Lord of the Ring ones we talked about, though we hadn't talked about the playset, which I think went up for pre-order last week, but I won't swear to it. The Berserk figure, Keanu Reeves character from the comic. So that was it for your McFarlane news from New York Comic Con. Geoforce was one of Batman's original outsiders and brother to Titan's Terra. Brian, I believe it is cardboard, yes, or at least parts of it are cardboard. I believe. And remember, those Lord of the Ring figures are like 3 3/4 inch type figures. I know the figures went up for pre-order last week. I don't know if the playset did. I hope he makes more Batman 66 characters like Adam West. Yeah, he only showed the wave that had already gone up for pre-order, so no new announcements on the 66 Batman front. All right, let's see. What else? Let's jump over to Marvel. So, couple announcements from Diamond Select Toys, a new Hobgoblin Marvel Select figure, Wolverine from Deadpool and Wolverine's getting the Select treatment, as is Deadpool, and then another Carnage figure as well. So those are from Marvel Select. And then the one reveal from Hasbro during New York Comic Con, of course, was the Sentinel. This was on display at the breakfast. They also put it out at the Pop Insider booth at Comic Con. So this was on display Saturday and Sunday at New York Comic Con. So this is a little bit of a surprise. This is a made to pre-order figure. It's available for pre-order now on Hasbro Pulse. it is based on the X-Men animated series. So it's not as detailed as the HasLab figure. It is not as big as the HasLab figure. This new figure is about 22 inches tall. So I threw together this little comparison image just to give you a rough idea. I've seen people doing, using digital renders, but I wanted to actually show the two actual toys together. So, again, this is about 22.2 inches tall, according to Hasbro, this new figure, which I took the tape measure to my HasLab one, and that brought it up to just under the chin of the HasLab version. So, this is, roughly, approximately, kind of what the size difference will be between the two figures. And I gotta say, I don't have a problem with that because I feel like that means I can make the HasLab truly my master mold figure, and then these guys that are a little bit shorter can be my Sentinel army. Not that I'm going to actually army build it, but I will get one. It is not as detailed sculpting wise as the HasLab. It doesn't have the electronics, but it's also not as expensive either, which I think is good. So this is $175. You've got until was it November 26th is the final day to pre-order this thing. Just like with the Dragon Man, according to Hasbro, if you don't buy it in this window, then you would have to go to the secondary market. You get the extra faceplate and battle damage helmet piece. You get the battle damage chest piece, and then you get some blast effects. So $175, under $200 to me. I'm going to pick up at least one. I don't have room for more, but I will get at least one of these. And again, that was the only Marvel Legend reveal at New York Comic Con. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've got 10/27 coming up this Sunday, and also the MCM London convention, where I believe Hasbro is going to have some limited presence there, where we probably will get a few reveals. So, not expecting a lot. The year has pretty much come. The Secret Wars wave was really the final big wave for this year. And we did get more looks of that. That was also on display at the breakfast. So let me go to those images for you guys. So there's your Iron Man figure with his roller skates. Also has that gun that was reminiscent of the gun included with the original Mattel Secret Wars Iron Man figure. Captain America with his broken shield. Titania. The reflective shields, and they do reflect. Symbiote Spider-Man. See, kind of go with the mat. Depending on how you're looking at it, you see the face without the mask or with the mask. I don't know if the shields open up and those come out like on the original Mattel figures. There's Captain America again. This Captain America is basically a reissue, but it's a good Captain America figure, and you do get the broken shield, which is kind of cool. The Beyonder back there, getting Symbiote Spider-Man. I like this accessory with the Beyonder, where he's like forming the battle world. I think that's pretty cool. The Wolverine figure, again with the shield. Good guys have the circle shield, bad guys have the square shield. So yeah, it does look like probably the shields open up. As you can see, I don't know if that's made to go in the shield or not. Packaging looks, identical to what the old Mattel figures look like. More looks at the Sentinel accessories. Back of the Sentinel. Close up. Huh. I had a side. They had the She-Hulk figure, and I had a picture of her standing next to Titania, but I don't see it here in the gallery, so I'll have to hunt that down. I'll post it up on Facebook or something. But Titania is smaller than the She-Hulk figure, so. See if it got put in the forums. The fan, just real quick since it's here. Here's a look at the Spider-Man model kit from Fanhome, and the Iron Man figure. We got our first look at Kirby from the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. This was on display at the Marvel booth, Marvel Comic Entertainment booth. So I don't see the She-Hulk picture, so I guess unless. So this is the, you can see the different chest plate here. This is on display at the actual convention center. The other pictures were on display at the press event. So yeah, I'll have to find the comparison. SH Figure Arts fans, we've got movie Venom, a new SH Figure Arts movie Venom. Some of the other SH Figure Arts from the Spider-Verse movies, Deadpool, Wolverine. Mezco had a few new Marvel figures, Thor, classic Thor, the spinning hammer. Deadpool from the Deadpool Wolverine movie with Dogpool. And then Hugh Jackman Wolverine as well. Didn't show it with the mask, but I assume it will have a mask head as well. So that's kind of your Marvel rundown from New York Comic Con. Not a lot. Star Wars, not a whole lot. Skeleton Crew Black Series figures for the upcoming Disney Plus series. Had a bunch of kids. I really don't know how popular these are going to be. These are going up for pre-order. Actually, they did not give a pre-order date for these Black Series figures. A couple of the vintage collection figures will be going up for pre-order tomorrow. So the Doctor, the Snow Trooper, and the Ahsoka Deluxe set with Sabine and the dog creature are all going up for pre-order tomorrow. This Skeleton Crew figure is not going up tomorrow. But that was really it on the Star Wars front. Transformer fans, Omega Supreme, the Siege version has gone up for pre-order. It's being reissued as a Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. This is a great figure, so if you missed out on this one the first time, I do highly recommend you check it out if you're a G1 Transformer fan. But as far as New York Comic Con reveals, not a ton of stuff. The Collector Con stuff, And then Devastator, the G1 Devastator, the new G1 Devastator. We're going to get our first real look at that at 10/27. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Movie Galvatron with, this is a reissue, but with more movie-like brighter colors. Skywarp from War for Cybertron. Hatchet. Double Punch. Movie stuff that I just personally not interested in. I may get I have the first Galvatron they did, but I might get this one. Unfortunately, his cannon is not translucent, so that would have been cool if that was translucent. Oh, a new Star Wars Transformer mashup figure, the Mandalorian's new ship. So it's been a long time since they've done a Transformer Star Wars mashup. And that's exclusive to Walmart. That went up during Walmart Collector Con. Oh, before I forget, let's go over to Jada Toys. So they had a couple of new reveals. Oh, Diamond Select Toys, if you're Muppets. Preternia actually took these pictures, but Lips and Lou Zealand box set. This was announced at their panel, so no actual images of the figures. Talked about all of this stuff. Let me go to Jada. So if you've been collecting those cereal mascot figures, we've got Fruity Pebbles versions of Fred Flintstone. Package image of the Scooby-Doo figure. I never ever knew that Shaggy's last name was Rogers, so that is new information to me. Shaggy Rogers. I didn't know he even had a last name. The Mummy. I think this was a new reveal. I don't think they showed that one at San Diego. So this is, of course, part of the new Scooby-Doo line that they announced at San Diego Comic-Con. And then this guy with the mask. Maybe they showed, I forget if they showed the Mummy or not. Tony the Tiger, we'd seen that one before. Part of their cereal line. Chester Cheetah, that one's already out. Again, Fred Flintstone. And his pal Barney. Nothing on the Mega Man front was new. We had seen all these at San Diego Comic-Con. Same with this line, the video game line. You'd seen these at San Diego Comic-Con. The Cyberpunk figures. Finally, though, we did get a look at the Akuma from the front. They only showed us behind at San Diego Comic-Con, so we get our first look at the face. This is really the only new Street Fighter figure that they showed at New York Comic-Con, which, again, we had seen at San Diego, but just the back. This was their con exclusive Ken. And then these others, we had seen at San Diego, so we just got new looks at them. Some of which are already out. Vega will definitely get. Already have him. Balrog. Mike Tyson clone. E Honda, I'll get him. Blanca, I'll get him as well. Guile, I will get him. I think he started to see release, but I haven't gotten him yet. Chun-Li I already have. Again, these were the 2 exclusives you could buy at the convention. So that was basically it for Jada Toys. NECA. Nothing new on the Sesame Street front. These are all the same ones that we saw at San Diego. NBX figures. All this stuff we had seen at San Diego. The 2003 Turtles, though, this is our first look at those. Christmas Turtles available on Walmart's website. And then I think these turtle figures we had seen. Most of these I think we had seen before. I kind of lose track. They have so many turtle figures now that I kind of lose track of them. That one we had seen at San Diego. That version of April, I think maybe is the first time we're seeing Pee Wee Herman. We've seen that. The ultimate version of Pee Wee. I don't know if this Pee Wee's Playhouse, if that's just for looks or if they're going to end up like releasing that. Ghosts, Toonie Terra figures. More Turtles. Iron Maiden. Alf, all of these we had seen before. Be curious if they do that wrestling ring. I think these are new. I don't remember seeing these at San Diego. I could be wrong, but this we saw at San Diego with the bike. This one's new. I think that's what? Human Splinter. It's the last Ronin figure, so I haven't read it, but I believe that. I'm thinking that's what that is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it looks almost like a woman, so I'm not sure who that character is. Dark Leo. First time seeing these, I believe, as well. That one we had seen before. That one we had seen before. I think we had seen that one before. That one we had seen before. That one we had seen before. I think this first time we're seeing these. That one I think we saw before. And again, the 2003 Turtles, which we're seeing for the first time. All right, and then I think we'll finish off today with Mondo. So Mondo didn't really have a whole lot new at their booth. I think this was the only really new thing we hadn't seen before. The Buzz-Off figure, the 1/6 scale Buzz-Off. Scarecrow, I think we'd seen before from Batman the Animated Series. This was Faker. We had seen promo images before the show, but I guess technically. More issues of Buzz-Off on the back. their vinyl figures, their Mirage black and white vinyl figures. And then their new line of little figures with the buckets. But then at their panel, so they didn't have any of their real Ghostbuster figures on display. I would have thought they would have brought those out to show off to folks at New York Comic Con. We'd seen them at San Diego, but they didn't have any of those on display. But in their panel, they did announce that they're going to start doing 1/6 scale Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures, and you can't expect them to actually create some of their own characters. So they did that with Masters of the Universe, and apparently we're going to see them come up with some of their own character designs for Turtles, which I guess will become canon in this line. So these were the stuff that we saw at the booth. But for real Ghostbusters, they did show us some slides. So our first look at Peter Venkman, or not Peter, but the Dan Aykroyd. Now I'm having a brain fart, and I'm not familiar enough with. I don't remember the ghost from Real Ghostbusters, so I don't know who that's supposed to be. But I'm sure you real Ghostbuster fans know Winston. Again, I don't know what that ghost is going to be, but I'm sure you guys do. This one I figured out was Janine. I figured that was Janine. So she's coming to the line. I don't know if she's going to be a single release or what. So, and the pumpkin bucket things are called Nightmare Vessels. So, oh, and then they announced, Nightmare Before Christmas. They announced some new licenses, but they didn't give a lot of details on like what scale and stuff we can expect. So gargoyles, but again, I don't know what scale. 1/6, I'm thinking, but I can't say that for sure. But they are going to be doing gargoyle figures. The Goofy movie, I didn't know there was a Goofy movie, but they're going to be doing figures for that of some type. Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, they didn't really give any specifics. Naruto, so they're dipping their toes into anime. And then Mondo Alien. So again, they didn't specifically say scale, but they did mention that they were going to be recreating a lot of the Kenner-like alien stuff. So I don't know if it'll be 1/6, 1/12, maybe both. I don't know, but they are going to be doing alien stuff as well. Ray, thank you. God, I don't know why. Mondo's too pricey for me, but cool. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, name. I hate when that happens, when like a name and then it's like just flies out of your head. I think I do. I'm surprised we did not see any gargoyles from NECA, but I believe in recent interviews they have said that they will be doing more gargoyles. So I was kind of expecting them to have something for gargoyles at New York since they had nothing for San Diego, but maybe Toy Fair next year. I guess we'll have to see. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Jeremy. You're right. I got my years mixed up. 2012 for NECA, 2003 for Super 7. So it was the 2012 Turtles that we were seeing for the first time from NECA. I get all this information crammed in my head and then it gets mixed up. Rashid says, has fond memories of the Goofy movies. Oh, yeah. Well, that wasn't at Comic-Con, but since you brought that up. Yes, we got official images released today for the 1/6 scale Venom animated series figure. This will be going up for pre-order tomorrow. So 1 p.m. Eastern time on the Mondo shop. $245 is going to be your price. Looks like they're only doing... No, they got, looks like 2 versions. So the stuff here is going to be with the deluxe version or whatever they call it. Eddie Brockhead looks pretty good. So if you're into 1/6 scale figures, again, this Venom figure is going up for pre-order tomorrow on the Mondo store. I don't know if the price, the 245 is the deluxe version or the regular version, but anyway, again, pre-order for that tomorrow. All right, well, we've definitely gone late, so it is 5 o'clock, but a lot of stuff to cover, as I said. And a lot of pre-order. Man, we had a lot of pre-orders last week. If you collect multiple brands, your wallet probably is not yet forgiven you. And of course, we've got more pre-orders this week because, again, tomorrow we have a few Star Wars pre-orders. We have a few GI.Joe classified pre-orders. We have the Mondo Venom figure pre-order. There's a McFarlane pre-order tomorrow, but off the top of my head, I don't remember what it is. But yes, more pre-orders to come to finish out the month. And then don't forget this weekend, we have 1027 on Sunday, which is at 12 p.m. Eastern time. That will be at 12 p.m. supposedly for premium members, but I guarantee you the information will be out there for everybody to see, whatever they reveal. And then MCM, which Hasbro's not said anything specific. They mentioned at their panel that they were going to be at an international convention, but they didn't specifically say. But generally, they do have some presence at the MCM convention, which again is this weekend, I believe. So, and whatever they show at those events, you can expect to find the information up on the websites, of course. And if I get any more details on any of that, I'll let you guys know between, I'll be back on Wednesday and then Friday with a regular video. Best meal I had, New York Comic Con. I didn't have a lot of meals. There's not a lot of places to eat at around Javits Center, I can tell you that. There's a Chinese restaurant that I like to go to that is on 8th Street, just a little bit down the street from the New Yorker Hotel. I go there almost every time I'm in New York City for these events. I stayed at a friend's house in Long Island, so every day I would take the Long Island train, in and out of the city. So when I wasn't at Comic-Con, I didn't spend a lot of time, doing around New York City this time. So, but I always love Chinese food, so there you go. Not too New Yorkish, I know, but used to be a White Castle's over there too, and that thing went out of business. I love White Castles. But... All right, guys, my voice is getting hoarse, so I'm going to call it here. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in all weekend, checking out the coverage on the websites here on YouTube. Again, we've got more stuff to come to finish out the month, so we're not quite done yet. But hopefully we'll see a few more cool things before all is said and done. But as I said, thanks for tuning in today. Until next time, I will catch you later, and stay safe out there and be good. Thanks for watching today's video. Now, if you're new to the channel, please think about hitting that subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. For all the latest action figure news, be sure to head over to ToyNewsEye.com, MarvelousNews.com, JediInsider.com, and TFormers.com. And remember, action figures are great,